Thanks for taking the time to see me today. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for dropping by. You said you have something new to show me?
I do. It's Medtronic's newest dual-chamber temporary pacemaker, the model 5392. And I can't wait to show you its features and how it can benefit you and your patients.
That does sound interesting. Let's take a look.
First, let's review the features that make the 5392 so durable and damage resistant. A robust attachment ring is located on the back of the device. Use the ring to hang the 5392 on a bedside IV pole. When not in use, the ring folds flat against the back of the device. Another feature is the raised edge at the top of the device. It helps the user avoid accidentally pressing the DOO key while the device is lying on a flat surface.
That's a great safety feature.
Also, on top of the device, the connector block has sockets designed for each chamber, A for atrium and V for ventricle. Notice the sockets are color-coded, blue for atrium and white for ventricle. The 5392 does not support direct connection to external temporary pacing wires. However, there are compatible cables. For more information on compatibility, you can check the guide. Now let's look at the bottom of the 5392. Just press this button and the battery drawer opens.
That was easy. Are there any special battery requirements?
Just make sure you use 2 standard AA batteries.
Does it matter which way I put the batteries in the drawer?
Yes, it does. The 5392 requires proper battery polarity for operation. Ensure that a new set of batteries is installed with each use and that the batteries are inserted correctly. Do this by verifying alignment with the polarity markings on the inside of the battery drawer. Then make sure the battery drawer is closed.
So, will the device warn me when the battery is running low?
Yes, a red light flashes behind the battery status indicator when 1 bar is visible. When the red light begins flashing, the device has approximately 24 hours or less of battery life remaining. The red light continues flashing until sufficient power is no longer available or new batteries are installed.
Will the 5392 continue to operate if the batteries are removed?
Medtronic does not recommend replacing the batteries while the 5392 is turned on or actively pacing the patient. However, if the temporary pacemaker is in use during an emergency situation and the batteries must be replaced, ensure that the device is locked before replacing the batteries. Pacing is maintained while the batteries are being replaced for 30 seconds minimum at 80 beats per minute, and the output is 10 milliamps for both atrium and ventricle.
This product does seem durable. Is there anything that helps protect the device?
That's a good question. Medtronic recommends using the disposable cover to reduce the risk of tampering with program parameters.
What about a cover to keep it clean?
Another good question. Medtronic recommends using a disposable pouch to minimize fluid incursion.
I really like what I'm seeing.
It's what many customers have been asking for, a safe, easy, and effective way to deliver temporary dual-chamber pacing.
How should I maintain this device?
Calibration of the 5392 should be verified, at minimum, once every 12 months. The expected service life is 5 years. After 5 years, you should replace it with a new product. Remember that long-term reliability of the 5392 temporary pacemaker is subject to the actual use conditions of the device. Look at the technical manual for recommendations on routine testing, preventative maintenance, and other tips for reliable operation. Now let's turn on the device so you can see how it provides safe pacing support in both the atrium and ventricle with just these 3 control dials. Great? Press and hold the on-off key momentarily to turn on the pacemaker.
Thanks
When
so
the
much for
device
meeting with me
turns
today.
on,
I have so many
the
questions
backlight
about
of the
connecting all
lower
these
screen
cables to it.
Now let's turn on the device so you can see how it provides safe pacing support in both the atrium and ventricle with just these 3 control dials.
Great.
Press and hold the on-off key momentarily to turn on the pacemaker. When the device turns on, the backlight of the lower screen illuminates and a self-test is initiated.
How do I know that the self-test is completed?
Once the self-test is completed, the mode selection screen is displayed on the lower screen.
Great. I see that it's ready to pace at 80 beats per minute and 10 milliamps for both the atrium and the ventricle.
That's correct. These are the nominal settings at power on.
What are the flashing lights for?
The pacing and sensing status bar indicators identify which chambers the 5392 is currently set to pace and/or sense, atrium or ventricle. Notice there are lights for the atrium and lights for the ventricle. The green LED indicator flashes each time the temporary pacemaker delivers a pacing pulse. The blue LED indicator lights up for intrinsic sensed events.
Do the pace and the sense LEDs indicate actual temporary pacemaker interaction with the heart?
No, the pace and sense LEDs next to the A and V chamber indicators show delivery of a pacing pulse or a sensed event. The LEDs flash when the pacing or sensing events occur. Remember I said you can deliver dual chamber pacing with just 3 control dials?
Yes, the dials change the rate and the atrial and ventricular outputs.
Right. Let's change the rate first. Why don't you try? Simply turn the top dial to the desired setting. To increase the rate, turn the dial clockwise.
I like how responsive the knobs are when turning.
Also, notice the setting is displayed both numerically and graphically.
That's a nice feature. I can see at a glance when the rate is in the high range and that it goes up to 200 beats per minute. That would be very useful with a pediatric patient.
You're right. Now, to decrease the rate, turn the dial counterclockwise.
I do like how easy it is to read the numbers. They're really large and clear. And I also like the scale next to each dial, showing where the parameters is set within the available range. This next dial is for setting the atrial output?
Yes, and the third dial is for setting the ventricular output.
Okay, now that I have changed the rate and the outputs, is there a way to lock them so that they don't get changed accidentally?
Of course, the device will automatically lock in the selected settings 60 seconds after the last adjustment is made. Or to lock in the settings at any time, just press the lock/unlock key. A lock indicator will appear when the lock takes effect. Try adjusting one of these 3 dials.
Now the lock indicator is flashing a message that appears on the lower screen.
Yes, this is the lock message, and it flashes for approximately 30 seconds to indicate that you must press the lock button to unlock the device.
Okay, I see that instruction on the lower screen. How can I unlock the device in a critical situation where time is of the essence? For instance, a loss of capture.
You can unlock the device by pressing the DOO emergency key. Pressing emergency causes the device to immediately begin delivering high output asynchronous dual chamber pacing.
So the device is now pacing both chambers at the maximum output settings and at the programmed rate.
Emergency is the 15392 function that you can activate anytime, whether the device is on, off, unlocked, or locked.
So if the device is off and I press emergency, what are the settings?
Both the atrium and the ventricle are paced asynchronously at maximum outputs at a rate of 80 beats per minute. In addition, there is an asynchronous pacing message that appears in the lower screen. This will remain as long as the device is in emergency pacing mode.
Great, but could I adjust the rate or the output if I needed to?
Yes, just as we did before.
So pressing the emergency really is a convenient way to quickly select asynchronous dual chamber pacing.
Exactly.
I like what I've seen so far. It's simple to use. Now, how do I turn the device off?
First, unlock the temporary pacemaker if it is locked. Now, press the on-off key once. Notice the temporary pacemaker shutdown message appears on the lower screen.
Yes, I see the message on the lower screen.
When you press the off key, you get a message that prompts you to press the enter key within 5 seconds to shut the pacemaker down, thus reducing the chance of inadvertently turning the device off.
I really like the added safety feature. Tell me, is it possible to just pick a pacing mode and have the device deliver that therapy without having to make any other adjustments?
Sure, the mode selection menu is displayed in the lower screen when the 5392 is turned on. So go ahead and turn the device back on. And remember, the current pacing mode is displayed in the lower left corner of the upper screen.
I see, it automatically comes to the DDD mode. I like that. We've been talking about all the things that we can do with just the three dials. Now, can you show me what the fourth dial does?
The fourth dial is the menu parameters dial, which is used to adjust pacing parameters in the selected mode of pacing therapy. Here's the pacing parameters menu. It is the primary display of the lower screen.
What about this button with the pause symbol? What does that do?
Oh, this is the pause key. It may be used for checking the patient's intrinsic activity. Just press and continue to hold the pause key. After 10 seconds, the device will revert back to programmed settings.
I see, the message states that pacing is suspended.
Exactly.
You know, there certainly are times when I need to adjust sensitivity settings. How would I do that?
Let's change ventricular sensitivity. Use the arrows to highlight this parameter. Changing the setting is just a matter of turning the dial.
Like we did for rate and output. What if I want a different value, say for the AV interval?
You can manually adjust that parameter as well. Simply use the down arrow to highlight AV interval and turn the dial to the desired setting.
So with the 5392, I can either fine-tune a therapy or let the device do it automatically.
That's right. Notice that settings is set to automatic. Medtronic designed the 5392 so that any change in the rate automatically adjusts the AV interval, upper rate, and p-var. Why don't you adjust the rate and see what happens?
I see how this works. All I have to do is change the rate and the device will automatically adjust these rate-dependent parameters for me.
That's right. If there is a timing violation, a warning message appears in the lower screen, and one of these rate-dependent parameters will need to be adjusted before adjusting the rate.
This makes dual chamber pacing very easy. Now remind me, is it possible to just pick a pacing mode and have the device deliver that therapy without having to make any other adjustments?
Certainly. The mode selection menu is displayed in the lower screen when the 5392 is turned on. But since we're in the pacing parameters menu, use the up and down arrows to highlight mode selection. And then press the Enter key. Use the arrow keys to select the appropriate mode.
So then I just press the Enter key to activate the new pacing mode.
That's right. And remember, the current pacing mode is shown in the lower left corner of the upper screen display.
Can you tell me what A tracking is for?
Sure, with atrial tracking on, ventricular pacing will follow or track the atrial intrinsic rate. With atrial tracking off, the ventricle will always pace at the selected rate no matter how fast the atrium beats.
So I would turn atrial tracking off for a patient with intermittent atrial arrhythmias.
Yes,
Is there any way to use the 5392 to treat episodes of atrial flutter?
of course. The 5392 can deliver a burst of rapid atrial pacing anywhere from 80 to 800 beats per minute. Let's go to the rapid atrial pacing screen. Use the down arrow to highlight rapid atrial pacing and press the Enter key. Just set the rapid atrial pacing rate as needed by turning the dial and then press and hold the Enter key.
Do you have to program the 5392 to a specific mode prior to using it?
No, you can deliver rapid atrial pacing no matter what mode the 5392 is programmed to, even if it is a non-atrial pacing mode.
Can I try it?
Sure, go ahead. Notice as long as the enter key is depressed, the 5392 will deliver rapid atrial pacing, and the lower screen changes to display, delivering rapid atrial pacing. The flashing lights and setup indicator show that you are delivering asynchronous burst pacing in the atrium.
Can I adjust the burst rate during delivery?
Certainly, just readjust the burst rate during delivery with the dial.
That was easy. Okay, I got it. So how do I exit this function?
Once the enter key is released, it reverts to program settings. Now to exit this screen, press the arrow to highlight back and press the enter key. We now have seen all the menus and learned how they can help you to fine-tune a therapy. Don't forget that you can always deliver dual chamber pacing quickly by using just the top 3 control dials.
I love how flexible it is. It'll be a great option for temporary pacing.
Before we start, I want to mention 2 additional resources that are available for users of the 5392. First, we have the 5392 Quick Reference Tip Card that describes basic operation of the 5392. Second, we have the Compatibility Guide that lists all compatible leads and accessories.
Now tell me, how do I set up the device for a patient?
Once you get your 5392 temporary pacemaker, Medtronic recommends that you start out with a fresh new set of AA-sized batteries. As mentioned, replacement is simple. Just press this button and the battery drawer opens. Remember to ensure proper polarity. Once the batteries are installed, make sure the battery status indicator displays full battery power and that the low battery indicator is not flashing.
How long is the typical battery life?
With continuous operation at nominal values, the battery will last for a minimum of 7 days. Now, confirm that the set of patient or surgical cables is compatible with the connector block. Here's an example of a compatible connector plug.
Right, that's an added safety feature. The connector block does not support direct connection of heart wires or exposed electrical connectors.
Now that you have the correct cables, inspect the cables and leads for possible defects. Verify the device is off and secure the connection.
Is there a way I know that the cable has been completely inserted?
Yes, the audible click verifies that the plug is completely inserted into the socket. In addition, to ensure a good connection, gently pull on the cable connector. Now connect the leads to the appropriate cable. Match positive and negative leads to corresponding positive and negative. Notice that they are also color-coded, blue for atrium and white for ventricle. Now you're ready to turn on the 5392. You will need to determine sensing and pacing thresholds. Medtronic recommends that you use a safety margin of 2 to 1. Check the quick reference tip card for the appropriate steps. While the device is in use with a patient, Medtronic recommends checking the battery status regularly. Also, remember to replace the batteries for each new patient. Again, there are 2 additional resources. First, we have the 5392 Quick Reference Tip Card for basic operation. Second, we have the Compatibility Guide for a listing of all compatible leads and accessories.
Thanks. I appreciate you showing me Medtronic's new dual chamber temporary pacemaker. I'm really looking forward to using it.
Thanks for your time.